Welcome back, guys. This is our injury prevention, injury rehabilitation series. This is part 3 of our knee pain program. Okay, the first video was about trying to strengthen the quads. The second one was about trying to strengthen the hamstrings. So hopefully those exercises have helped you recover from your knee pain. Today's one is focused on trying to almost stretch and alleviate tight muscles that can also cause knee pain. Two things that you will need. One is I have a foam roller. This is my own. Most gyms have them. And the other one is something just to elevate your leg off the floor. This is the bottom of my step. So the two muscles we're going to focus on today. One is the lateral quad. So when we were focusing on strengthening the quads, we were trying to target the inside, the VMR muscle. What normally happens is the lateral quad, the outside quad, normally becomes more dominant than the inside one. Not in every case, but quite often. So, and what can happen is it can pull the knee out of its typical plane. Okay? So the knee tracking is really important to alleviate pain. And that is like when you walk, the knee should almost just come over the big toe. You're not going to think about doing that. But what we're trying to do is make sure the right muscles have enough strength and enough flexibility to allow the knee just to track where it needs to. Okay? Sometimes you might need certain type of shoes, you might need orthotics. I'm not going to get into all that today. We're just going to try and focus on these tight muscles. So like I said, the first one is this lateral quad. And what we're going to do is try and use this foam roller to find any knots and to try and ease them out a little bit. You'd be amazed how many people do find that their outside quad is actually quite tight. That and the IT band, a real thick band of fascia running down the lateral side, the outside of that leg also gets very dominant. And another one is the calf. So that one breaks down into two. You've got the gastrocnemius, which crosses the ankle and the knee joint, and it's broken into two parts. And you've got the smaller one, the soleus, which is the bottom part and only crosses the ankle joint. So we're going to break those two down as well. Once again, when these muscles become dominant, they can pull the knee in the wrong place. Okay, so we're going to try and stretch them and alleviate them a little bit. So I'm going to start with the calf. And I'm going to show you two different angles so you can see what I'm trying to do. Okay? So, what we're going to do, wherever you've got to raise your foot off the floor, what you're going to do is try and put the balls of the feet at the edge of the step, wherever you have. And it's going to try and drop the heel down. So, you've probably done this countless times. So, I've got my other leg bent, so most of my weight is on this leg. And to start with, I can just feel the stretch generally in my calf. Okay? All you're trying to do is just hold that. So, when you keep the legs straight, it's going to stretch the gastrocnemius, the main calf muscle. What we're going to do then is bend, still focusing on my right one, is bend that leg. Okay, that almost takes the knee out of it. Now I can feel the stretch a little lower down, which typically stretches the soleus, the smaller part of the calf muscle that only crosses the ankle joint. And what you're trying to do is, can you see how much bend I have in my ankle? That is actually pretty good flexibility. So just take note of how much range of motion you have in yours. If your calves are quite stiff, you'll probably find it very difficult to bend that foot past 90 degrees. We've really got to keep trying to work on that. Okay? So you see my leg passes 90 degrees, so that is pretty good flexibility. So you work between the two. You work the first one with the leg straight, then you work the second one with the leg bent. Then what you're going to do, I'm going to show you side on in a second, because you won't be able to hear me. You're going to go back to the straight-legged one. And then what you're going to try and do is move the body left first, and then you're going to move it to the right. And what you're doing is when you move it to the left, when you balance on the right leg at least, when you move the body to the left, you should stretch the inside. Remember when I said the gastroc is broken down into two muscles? You should stretch the one on the inside more. Then when your weight shifts to the outside, the lateral, the outside calf muscles should stretch more. Okay, so just trying to target all parts. I'll show you from the side on. This one should target the inside the calf muscle, and this one targets the outside. All the while, you're trying to keep that leg straight throughout when you're doing that one at least, okay? So remember, you're trying to target the two parts of the gastroc, the inside and the outside, and then you're trying to keep the leg bent to stretch the soleus muscle at the same time, okay? Really important, remember, you're trying to get that angle, you're trying to get that leg past that 90 degrees. Really difficult to do, okay? Next one, using the foam roller. this can be quite painful, okay, to start with. So very common. The tighter it is, the tighter the lateral quad is, the more painful it's going to be. Remember, when it starts to become dominant, it starts to pull your knee out of its typical tracking, and that's what can cause knee pain. The knee is only really supposed to bend forwards and backwards. So when you have weaker muscles or tighter muscles, the knee does, this goes for all joints, but the joint normally gets pulled out of position. And over so many repetitions, especially if you're a runner, very typical to get knee pain in there. So what we're trying to do is get enough strength in the right muscles, which we've done on part 1 and part 2, and then this one is to alleviate any tightness in there, okay? So what we're going to do, lie side on, and you don't want to cross the joint, okay? The joint is where two bones meet, you don't want to cross the joint, so you start at the bottom. What I'm going to do is put my other leg out the way, again just focus on my right leg. You can either do it on your elbow, or even more painfully, is lifting up, okay? So what you're going to do is small little movements first, forwards, backwards, and when you find a really painful part, you just hold that out, and just hold it a little second, and then what you do is smaller little pulses back and forth on that same point. Okay? Just to start it off, and then slowly keep trying to move it up and down. Keep going further playing. When you find another one, same again, small little pulses trying to break up because it does get very painful. Okay? And then just keep moving it along, and I'm going to show you what part we're trying to go up to. Once you've rolled all the way up, it's once again just to where you feel the hip bone. You don't want to cross the hip joint, and that's where we're trying to target all the way up and down. Don't do big ranges like this. What you're trying to do is break it down into smaller parts. And when you find a real painful one, remember you break it up. Then what you do is you roll the pelvis forwards into the same again, so you target another little part of it. You're basically just massaging your leg, but it's very difficult to stretch the outside of the leg, and if you don't get a massage, this is the next best thing. So the same applies. You're just trying to lean forwards a little bit, and then you're trying to move up and down, but in little pulse movements. Then what you do is you roll the leg back, the same applies. So you're trying to target different points, find one that's a bit painful, and you hold that little point, and then break it all with really minute movements on there. Good. And then you do the same on the opposite leg. Remember, this one can be painful. So the tighter it is, it is such a difficult place to stretch. Very, very difficult. So the best thing you can do is either get a massage or roll it out yourself. So remember, all you're trying to do is build enough strength in the quad, especially the inside, the VMO, enough strength in the hamstrings, and then make sure there's enough flexibility in the calves especially, and the outside quad. When you've worked on that enough, the knee pain should subside. Okay, thank you.